Are the Baltimore Orioles calling up yet another top prospect? I'm covering that and much more on today's action-packed episode of Locked On Fantasy Baseball.
You are Locked On Fantasy Baseball, your daily fantasy baseball podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, fantasy baseball fanatics, and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, we're your number one source of fantasy baseball knowledge, and thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. I'm your host, Dominic Martino. If you're listening on a platform like Apple or Spotify that allows 5-star ratings and reviews, we would truly appreciate it if you could do that for us. And if you're watching on YouTube and you haven't already, hit that little bell below. It subscribes to the channel and gives you a notification every time we drop a new episode. And lastly, but most importantly to Matt and I, guys, join us on the Subtext platform. Through Subtext, it's an in-depth personalized experience through text messaging alerts right to your phone. We're offering so much more on Subtext than we can in this 30-minute episode. The link to our Subtext is in the bio wherever you're watching or listening, or available on any of our social media platforms. And today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. And then dive on into the ultimate fantasy baseball experience with our exclusive Locked On Fantasy Baseball hat giveaway. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see I'm rocking the hat right now. It's absolutely beautiful hat. Great chance to win one. All you have to do is simply share any of our posts on X or Instagram. Each share earns you an entry into the draw. The more you share, the greater your chances are of winning. Don't miss out. The drawing will be held on June 14th, so get in the game now. And all right, guys, I teased it at the top. We all know Baltimore farm system is absolutely loaded. Who's up next? And let's talk about him. It might be Cade Povich. So right now, Cade Povich was just added to Baltimore's taxi squad. They're still undecided on who's going to start Thursday. Originally, it would be Kyle Bradish's turn, but they're talking about maybe giving a little old Cade Povich action, right? So now, if you're not familiar with Cade Povich, he's a starting pitcher from Baltimore, 6'3", 185 pounds. Mainly known for that changeup, has a decent fastball as well. Has pitched very, very well this year down in the minors. This year in the minors, Cade Povich in AAA through 11 starts, 5 wins, a loss, 3.18 ERA, 56 innings pitched, a whopping 75 strikeouts, 21 walks. Batters are hitting .203 against him with a 1.11 whip. Now, the whip is something that, over his minor league career hasn't been super fantastic. Something that needs a little bit of work. Strikeouts are definitely there. This is actually the first year in his minor league career where the ERA is under control. But Povich has some pretty good stuff. Definitely an interesting prospect. Keeping my eye on him. If it's confirmed he's going to get the start, he's 7% owned on Yahoo. He's a guy that, I'll add him, see how things go. Maybe not in super shallow leagues, but definitely in the 12-man leagues, super competitive leagues. I know pitching's been pretty good, but, we all know how good Baltimore is, and, they've been pretty good with starting pitching prospects. I know Grayson hasn't been exactly what we expected, but, Povich is shown to be a very, very big strikeout guy, so maybe worst case scenario, he racks up a bunch of strikeouts, maybe gives up 3-4 runs, but I really do like Povich, and he's somebody, like I said, not running out there to add him, but in your 12s and deeper than that, it's definitely your AL onlys. I'll grab him in those. And if you're somehow in your dynasty keeper leagues, Cade Povich is available. I'll add him there too, because you know what? Maybe he pitches well, and then he could be a part of a trade for you. So I think there is value in Povich. Let's move on to somebody we've seen in the bigs before. Let's talk some Jordan Lawlar, right? Now with Jordan Lawlar, and actually, guys, I don't even know if I should have mentioned this at the top. Obviously, we are talking prospects and injured players today. Obviously, starting off with the prospects. I got the injured guys up for you next. And I got a bunch of injured guys that are actually very, very close to returning. A couple starting pitchers, couple of bats. Definitely could help out your team, so stay locked on with me for the whole episode today. But like I said, Jordan Lawlar is somebody we're talking about right now. He's getting ready to return. Now, I don't know if he comes right back up to the bigs or if the Diamondbacks are going to want to see him in the minors for a little bit more, because he did get 4 games in the bigs at the end of last year. It was only 12 at-bats. He picked up 3 hits, no homers, 4 RBIs. So really didn't show off too much, but you can't really base anything off of I'm sorry. I'm talking about the 4 games he played in Rookie Bowl this year. He actually played played 14 games in the majors last year. Once again, Jordan Lawler, who we're talking about here. It was 14 games, 31 at-bats, 4 hits. Actually looked a lot worse. 1 steal, 11 strikeouts, 2 walks at 129. But Jordan Lawler has very, very high prospect pedigree. He's actually right now, I'm not sure where they moved him to. He was a top 10 prospect at one point. I'm not sure if they still rank him there. We're going to double check that. Yeah, so number eight prospect, according to MLB.com for Jordan Lawler. There's a reason for it. Has pop, has a lot of speed in his bag. Stole 39 bases in the minors. Jordan Lawler did in 2022. In 2023, Lawler stole 36. Both years, good batting average, 278 in 2023, 303 in 2022. And he's just somebody that I really think could come up and perform. As I said, not really rushing out to add Lawler either. Somebody I'm definitely adding to my watch list, keeping my ear to the ground on when he's coming back. And when he does come back, if he's going to come right to the majors, definitely somebody that's interesting because he's another guy that if it all starts to click for him, going to be a big-time fantasy asset because, as I mentioned, power, speed. That Diamondbacks lineup is, pretty good for fantasy, especially if Corbin Carroll can get it going. Christian Walker's over there doing his thing, and they got a bunch of them young guys over there as well. So I do like me some Jordan Lawler. Another prospect that has actually played a little bit in the big so far in his career, Francisco Alvarez. Francisco Alvarez is actually, somebody who is on his way back from the IL as well. And very, very high in prospect, as recent as last year, has a lot of pop in his bat, has really showed has actually showed it, often in the majors. In 2023, he had, 25 home runs, only that 209 batting average. It was 123 games. So you could, potentially have a catcher, not the rest of the year, but, a guy who could pace around 30 home runs. So maybe you look at like 15, something like that, 16 the rest of the way for a guy like Francisco Alvarez when he gets back. The Mets can definitely use a guy like Alvarez in their lineup right now because we all know, even though they've been, the last couple of games have been better for them, overall just been struggling this year. And Francisco Alvarez could actually be back sooner than later. He could be ready to return June 11th. So, let's see how things go. I really think Jordan Alvarez is somebody that, in 2 catcher leagues, your NL onlys, he's actually up to 58% owned, a little bit higher than, I thought when I was writing the episode. But you know what? Francisco Alvarez, somebody still, that's, a little bit more than half leagues. So I think he's somebody we could take a look at. I think he's going to hit, somewhere near the middle of that Mets lineup, driving a lot of runs, have a lot of power, might only hit 210, 220. But in today's day and age, you can really, really live with that at the catcher's position. It's not killing you. I think we could sneak one more name in here, so we might as well go for it. Let's talk some Tink Hence. Now, Tink Hence is actually not a name that we've talked too much about on this podcast. He's the 48th prospect overall, starting pitcher for the St. Louis Cardinals. Had a little bit of a down year last year, but Tink Hence is starting to pick it up this year. 4 wins, 2 losses on the year through his 10 starts. 3.14 ERA, 51 innings, 68 strikeouts, only 15 walks. You love to see that. Batters only hitting 215 against Tink Hence with a 108 whip. Now, Tink Hence is just somebody that I really think is going to be, very good in this league. He's 21 years old, 6'1", 195, has a good changeup, has a good slider, has a really good fastball as well, 3+ pitches, from Tink Hence. Can get up, to 99, almost 100 miles an hour. So, you really love to see that from, a guy like Tink Hence. I think he's going to be really strong. Does he get the call this year? Maybe. Sometimes it's just really an injury or 2 away from a guy like this getting a call and being an asset on all of our fantasy teams. Out of all of the guys we talked about so far, I really think I can't say that because I think Lawler has a really bright future today. But I just leave it at Tink Hence has, a very, very bright future ahead of him. He's only 2% owned on Yahoo. Guy you definitely want to add to your watch list. And in your, your dynasty leagues or keeper leagues, stuff like that, go out there if he's owned, if you can keep, I'd say more than 10 players. If you have, some prospects. Guys, bear with me here a second. Oof. I had a little cough on the way. Excuse me there once again. So, once again, Tink Hence, really like him. But before we move on and I talk about a couple more prospects, one hitter, one pitcher, and move into, once again, some injured guys that are going to be back a lot sooner than we expect that are going to help your fantasy teams. I do have a quick ad break for you guys. PrizePick is the largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America. They are the easiest and most exciting way to play DFS. It's just you against the numbers instead of battling thousands of players, including pros and sharks. You pick more or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. Exploring my skills on PrizePicks this season adds an extra layer of excitement to daily fantasy sports. With just a few taps, you can transform $10 into $1,000 easily. PrizePicks is an incredibly user-friendly platform. You can make selections in and submit them in easier than 60 seconds. As the host of Locked On Fantasy Baseball, here are some rock-solid picks. Opt for Vladimir Guerrero Jr. to have higher than 0.5 total bases in his next start. Opt for Marcell Ozuna to have higher than 0.5 home runs in his next outing. And then also opt for Bryce Terang to have higher than 0.5 stolen bases in his next game. Download the app today and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, just download the app today and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. It's that easy. PrizePicks, pick more, pick less. Once again, it's that easy. And are you tired of watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day and you have to turn down the volume with all that shouting? Make the switch over to Locked On Sports today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for your everyday to bring you the biggest stories without all that screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And then once again, we're introducing the Locked On Fantasy Baseball Podcast Diamond Club on the Subtext platform, your ultimate fantasy baseball companion. As the season unfolds, rely on us for dynamic content. Get real-time alerts right to your phone, including waiver wire rankings, instant call-up notifications, injury reactions, and a whole lot more. Stay ahead of your fantasy baseball league by joining the Diamond Club on Subtext, where the path to your victories begins. Subscribe now and elevate your fantasy baseball experience to a new level. Whew. And as always, guys, that is a lot. Unfortunately, I do not have Matt here to pass it off to today, so we're going to keep rocking and rolling here. And let's talk about actually somebody that I'm a big fan of. I own in a couple of leagues. Let's talk some Jacob Misiorowski. Jacob Misiorowski, Brewers starting pitcher prospect, is just somebody that, once again, I think is going to be a very, very good caliber player in this league. In the futures game last year was striking out everybody, a bunch of big name players. And Misiorowski, mainly known for that fastball slider combo, a little bit Spencer Strider-esque almost, 6'7", 190. Got to put a little bit more weight on that form. But you know what? Chris Sale got it done for his whole career. Still getting it done actually this year. Amazing what Chris Sale's doing. But that's a conversation for another day. But I really think Misiorowski is a guy we need to keep an eye on. I think we might see him this year. He gets up to over 102 miles an hour at that time. And then he's got that wicked slider. Again, I mentioned, sits in the 80s. I think if he can, just develop a third pitch, he does throw a curveball that is somewhat, decent as well. So if he can mix in that in there just to throw hitters off, this guy really has, the sky as his limit. And let me mention to you some of Misiorowski's numbers so you can just understand why I am as excited as I am. Misiorowski, 10 starts this year in Double-A, 2.52 ERA, 39 innings, 54 strikeouts. Definitely has to work on the walks with 31 walks. Batters are only hitting 174 against him. The whip is super, super high at a 140. Don't get me wrong there. But, a kid who's still fairly young at 22, I think he's going to develop very well. Obviously, we know the Brewers are very, very good with starting pitchers. We talk about the Freddie Peraltas, the Corbin Burnses, and the Brandon Woodruffs. So basically, we know they can develop starting pitchers, and I don't think Misiorowski is going to be an exception to the rule here. I think he's going to come up and just add to it. And as we look back, we're just going to be like, damn, Misiorowski is somebody that we should have had our eyes on. And that's why I'm telling you now, make sure you at least add him to your watch list. He's somebody I think we could see later in the year. The Brewers rotation isn't really super rock solid, as I just pull it back up here to double down. I know Aaron Ashby just came back And really, after Freddie Peralta, it's not much. Bryce Wilson, Colin Ray, and as I mentioned, Ashby. You could see Mizorowski a lot sooner than later, honestly. I think they want to opt for, the control, hold them down a little bit longer. They're 5.5 games ahead of the Cubs. Not really a lot of pressure. I think if, like I said, maybe an injury or, the Cubs start breathing down the Brewers' neck, you could see a Mizorowski. And as I said, I definitely think we see him towards the end of the year in September. But once again, really the point of this episode is to bring up some of the better prospects in the minors. We do talk about guys that are close as well. But we just want to make sure you know these names. Because if, you hear Jacob Mizorowski somehow gets called up, a week from now, oh, I remember Don from Locked On was talking about him, and you can do your own research as well. As I said, big fastball, big slider, a guy that's Spencer Strider-esque. Not necessarily going to be that good, but just kind of reminds me of the similar repertoire. Needs to work on the control a little bit. So Mizorowski is somebody, like I said, keep your eyes on him, add him to your watch list. I got one more prospect for you before we move on and we talk about some of these injured guys that are going to come back soon. Let's talk a little bit of Harry Ford. Harry Ford, I think we've mentioned him here on this pod before, and it might not be the easiest path to get to the bigs, especially with a guy like Cal Raleigh over there. But it might be a trade thing. It might be a thing where they go out and they trade Harry Ford because they don't have the spot for him. And hey, capitalize on that value. We always talk about here on this podcast. But Harry Ford in Double-A for the Mariners, hitting .265 with 5 home runs. He has 35 walks to 46 strikeouts, actually 15 steals as well. He's pretty quick for a catcher. So Harry Ford is somebody I definitely think we need to keep on our radar and kind of just see where things go with him. Once again, not 100% sure he's going to get the call. I think it could be, a trade situation, move Harry Ford to, a team where he's going to play every day. And then when we see him, like I said, got some speed, got a little bit of power, definitely somebody we need to keep on our radars. And, let's sneak in this one ad before we move on here. And, talk about, like I said, got a couple of injured starting pitchers coming back and also have a really, really good bat for you too. Might not be back super soon, but when he comes back, I definitely think he will be worth the ad. So stay locked on for that. And Gametime is an authorized ticket marketplace of the NBA, which makes getting playoffs tickets even easier and faster. And guys, it's championship time here in the NBA. You got those Celtics playing those Mavericks. As I mentioned, I think the Celtics got this, and there's no better place to bet than Gametime. The prices on the Gametime app actually go down the closer it gets to tip-off with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee. Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. Their last-minute deals save you up to 60% off buying last-minute tickets for sports, concert, comedy, and theater near you. Their flash deals save even more with exclusive in-app deals. Select seats ahead of the game or event. Their zone deals save even more when you choose a section and let Gametime choose the seats. They're all in pricing. Toggling this feature shows the total up front with no surprise fees at checkout. And you get seat views as well. You get a panoramic view from the seat you'll be sitting in the app before you buy. Their lowest price guarantee or Gametime will credit you 110% the difference. Gametime ticket coverage. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Last minute tickets and their lowest prices always guaranteed. All right, guys, let's bring this thing home and let's talk some Robbie Ray. Now, Robbie Ray, a little bit closer than we might have expected, and I know we've mentioned him on this episode before, but, with him being close to returning at 15% owned, it's a pitcher that we know who he is, and why would you not want a guy who's going to have big strikeout totals with, pitching in a good part. I can't guarantee that he's going to keep the ERA down, But, there's a chance. There certainly is a chance. We've seen Robbie Ray do it before. We've seen Robbie Ray be a Cy Young caliber pitcher before, as a matter of fact. So he actually struck out 3 in a scoreless inning Tuesday, so which means he actually, struck out, the side there on Tuesday. That was his first rehab appearance. He's probably going to take, I would say, at least maybe 3 to 4 more starts down there before they get him back into the rotation. But with him being this close, I think that 15% needs to get up to like 40. I know we're all dealing with a lot of injuries right now. But like I said, Robbie Ray is somebody that, hey, we know who he is. And he's already shown it in his first inning of work, getting those 3 strikeouts. I know it's down in the minors, and we saw what Blake Snell did, and then Blake Snell came up and got rocked. But it's at least promising to see, from a guy who's been hurt. As recent as 2021, as I said, Robbie Ray, 193 innings, 248 strikeouts, 2.84 ERA, won the Cy Young, had a great whip. And then even if you want to talk about his 2022, which is, I think, more reasonable. And even if we get this from Robbie Ray, I think that's fine. In 2022, Robbie Ray and Seattle, 3.71 ERA. It was 32 starts, 189 innings, 212 strikeouts, and a 1.19 whip. That's fine. I'll take that from a guy like Robbie Ray, and I'll walk away pretty happy. So I think we need to add him. I think it's the time now because, if that next rehab start is 3 innings, 5 strikeouts, 6 strikeouts, no earned runs, and he's still looking this sharp, who knows? Maybe it's only, 3, 4 rehab starts total instead of like 5 or 6. So with Robbie Ray, a proven asset, somebody that I really liked. I've had him in fantasy over the years. I know it's a lot of ups and downs, but I still think he has a little bit left to offer, and I do like the park where he's going to be pitching in San Francisco now. So go out there and add Robbie Ray. Let's move on to somebody that might even be better than Robbie Ray, or, is better than Robbie Ray, as a matter of fact. Let me not be coy about it. Let's talk some Clayton Kershaw. Another guy that, hey, I know we've talked about him a bit on the show, but this is a friendly reminder. He's getting close to returning, and, we're not going to be able to pick him up, I'd say, honestly, a week, 2 from now. Kershaw is up to 39% owned at the moment. That's up 5% from the last, couple of days here. And Kershaw's ahead of schedule. He's ahead of schedule, and he's likely to be ready right around the All-Star break. I honestly think he's going to be really, really good. We know who he is, and he's going to be throwing his first simulated game at some point this week as we're talking. Honestly, could be happening right now, and I don't even know. Do I need to read Clayton Kershaw's baseball card? If you don't know who Kershaw is, if you're actually that new to fantasy baseball, Kershaw's been doing this a long time, and he's been very, very good. Even last year, Kershaw, dealing with injuries, still managed to put up a 2.46 ERA in his 24 starts, 131 innings, 137 strikeouts, and a 106 whip. I think we just expect more of the same until Kershaw shows us otherwise. Even if it's a low 3s ERA with a K per 9 and a decent whip, he's going to get those wins on that Dodgers team. And there's no reason for the Dodgers not to just let him pitch. Just let the guy throw. I don't think we're going to see, complete game shutouts. But are we going to see some nice 6-inning, outings from Kershaw pretty regularly? I think so. Because you know what? You got to get the guy ready for the playoffs anyway. And if he's only going to have the second half of the season to do it, I think the Dodgers are going to, make sure that he is ready, as I mentioned. And at 39% owned, he's probably out there in most of the leagues where you guys are listening right now. If you have that IL spot, I think it goes to Kershaw. Especially out of all the guys we're talking about today. I know I spoke about Alvarez a little bit earlier, spoke about Ray. I just really love me some Clayton Kershaw, and I think he's going to have a nice little bang at the end of his career here. Let's go from a veteran to a young blood here. Let's talk some Gavin Williams. Gavin Williams, another guy, talk about him a lot, but hey, he's getting close. We're giving you guys the options. All you got to do is add him. How many times did I tell you guys to pick up Tarek Skubal last year? Said it till I was blue in the face. Those of you that did walked away very, very happy. So, as I'm giving you these names, I think you really should go out there and consider adding them. Gavin Williams struck out 5 over his 2.1 innings, 3 earned runs on 3 hits, 2 walks. That was on Tuesday in AAA. It's a nice increase. He threw just 1 inning, 32 pitches with his first start. That was last week on Thursday, up to 46 pitches. It's going to take him a little bit. I think 2 at least starts more. If those 2 starts are good, I think I think we could see him sooner than later, but Gavin Williams is just somebody that has that prospect pedigree, came up last year, pitched very well, has very good stuff. Once again, the Guardians are a great team, has developed a lot of great starting pitching over the years. Look at the Bibees. They even, helped fix Corey Kluber. Just we know they can get it done. And Gavin Williams last year, 16 starts in the majors, 3.29 ERA, 82 innings, 81 strikeouts, 1.25 WHIP. Has got to get the walks and, hits under control, obviously. But did it pretty well in the minors. So with the pedigree being there, I think we know what to expect with Gavin Williams. Nice strikeout numbers, decent ERA. The WHIP might not be great to begin with, but, I think next year, 2 years from now, Gavin Williams will figure it out, and he'll be a top 20 caliber starting pitcher. So I think we need to go out there and add him now because, if that next start is, a 5-inning start or, maybe not 5, but, 4.2 inning start, where he strikes out 6-7, gives up a run, maybe only a couple walks, looks really good. After that 47% ownership is going to fly up to 60-70 because I know everyone is very excited about Gavin Williams. Even though I do think Clayton Kershaw is going to be better the rest of the way, I think Gavin Williams could be, just a little bit below that. So it's definitely somebody we need to go out there and add. I got one more name in there for you guys today, and it's an interesting one. Some of you might be like, Dom, what are you doing talking about this guy? But let's talk about a little Eloy Jimenez, and he's always hurt. I know he's always hurt, and it's so tough to, see a guy like this who really is super talented. He really, really is. He's a guy that could hit 300 with 35 homers, and if he was on a better team, the counting stats would be good too. But, he might even be a guy that gets traded, right? Why, would the White Sox want to hold on to Eloy if, there's no reason to at this point? He's getting older, he's 27. The White Sox aren't doing anything for the next couple of years. Go out there and get you some prospects, for an Eloy Jimenez. And maybe he gets on a contender and things just, turn around for him. I'm not exactly sure where he is on his return process. To be honest with you, we're going to double check that now. It is a hammy issue, so it's a tough one. It's a tough one. So he's saying that he's felt good, running the bases. Could be 4 to 6 weeks, and that's back from when he originally heard it. A couple weeks back. So it might not be a play, right now. But if you have the IL spot, Eloy's 31% owned, and we're all hurting for bats, especially outfielders. I know I get guys asking me questions all the time about outfielders, who they should pick up, and what the move is. I think Eloy's a great stash. Let's just talk about what he's done throughout his career. Even let's just take the last 2 years, right? Hasn't been super healthy, so hasn't played a lot of games, so we're just going to mash them together, and we're going to talk about the combined stats there. I think it is going to come out over to let me just do the math then. So it's like almost 200 games, right? But you're talking about a guy over that time, hit 40 home runs, a 280 batting average. The walks to strikeouts aren't horrible, so he's decent in points leagues, hits a bunch of doubles, hits the ball really hard. I think Eloy Jimenez is just, somebody that if you're hurting for a bat right now and you have the IL spot, why don't you have him stashed? Because, as I said, it might be, 4 more weeks before we see him back. But when he gets back, he can hit the ground running. He's actually known when he comes off the IL to hit the ground running. I remember a couple years back when he came off the IL, was absolutely mashing, and a friend of mine traded him, got a haul for him, and then he teed it off and got hurt again. So even if that's the move with Eloy, I think we could do that because in today's day and age where we're all looking for bats, if he comes back and he looks really good, you say, hey, the prospect pedigree's there. We know who he is. He could hit for a very good batting average. That's the power. And you move on from him. But you know what, guys? I'm going to call things there for today. I appreciate you sticking around with me, even though my brother Matt is not here today. So make sure you like, comment, rate, subscribe, and review. And thank you for making Locked On Fantasy Baseball your first listen each and every day. Be sure to look out for a new episode tomorrow where Matt and I will be back, of course, talking something super fun and interesting to help you and your fantasy baseball team win a championship this year. But until then, see ya.